They're trying to divide us again. They're trying to tell us the Magic are better without Paolo Banchero. But as Paolo Banchero gets closer to his return, why Paolo's going to add to an already potent offense today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 24th. It will be November 25th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Ike. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season, the last time the Magic had an offense in the top half of the league. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Paolo Banchero is getting closer to his return, and there's a little bit of hand-wringing that he's going to mess up the vibe. Well, I will tell you right now, and I have the numbers to prove it, Paolo Banchero won't mess up any vibes. He's about to make this team a whole lot better. We'll dive into that. Plus, we're going to take your calculators out. Get your calculators ready. We're going to do some NBA Cup math coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That's one of our everydayers. It means you're listening 5 days a week, listening on the weekends when we post our episodes on the weekends, making us part of your regular podcast rotation, making us your first listen of the day. We truly appreciate all of you who are part of the Locked On Magic community. And we truly appreciate you all for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. The Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. We are getting closer. We are getting close. The finish line is on the horizon, and it does feel like the Orlando Magic are about to be whole again. And it's been a while. And certainly after Sunday's game, we're eager to have players back from injury. Wendell Carter, Goga Bitadze, and Jalen Suggs were not on the injury report that was posted on Monday afternoon. They are presumably available and ready to play Tuesday against the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll dive into that game and why that game is really important and really dangerous coming up here in a moment. But obviously the big headliner remains, when is Paolo Banchero going to be back from his strained groin? There's been precious few updates. The Magic, again, don't give timelines. They don't put set dates or set time periods for their players to return. They're back when they're back. And the expectation is that Paolo Banchero will be back very soon. Jason Beatty of the Orlando Sentinel is up on the trip, or at least the first half of this trip. He was up in Boston, talked to Paolo Banchero, got an update directly from the guy. This is why we need to be paid enough to travel, so because it's easier to talk to these guys on the road. Spoke to Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero said that he is making good progress. He's starting to run a little bit more, and that he is getting pretty close. What does that mean? He's going to play Tuesday? No, it doesn't. He's out for Tuesday. He's been ruled out for Tuesday's game. Does that mean he's going to play Friday? Well, that seems to be a little bit more possible. It's not impossible, and we'll hype up Friday's game here in a minute and throughout the week as well, because it is a very, very big game for us Cup respecters. But the point is, we are nearing the end of this road. After 2 weeks sitting out, Magic are 4-2 in these games. The Magic are about to get one of their best players out, or one of their best players back. And I see it over the internet. I see it in the comments. I see it from the national media. All this hand-wringing to say after once again the Orlando Magic seem to break out and have these huge wins, beating the Warriors, beating the Knicks twice, have these huge wins with Paolo Banchero out. The question inevitably comes, are the Magic better without Paolo Banchero? Not that there's nothing to it. And there is going to be an adjustment. It's not going to be seamless. It's going to take a little while. But this is a ridiculous question. Did we learn nothing from the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown saga? Did we learn nothing that it is good to have multiple good players? Did we learn nothing that Paolo Banchero is not the Paolo Banchero the advanced analytics people hate anymore if he's able to pick up where he left off before his injury? Did we learn nothing from any of this conversation? Or are we stuck with the same old tired narratives when it comes to Paolo Banchero. Because every number from this season would suggest Paolo Banchero is not going to harm this team at all. In fact, he is going to enhance it. He is going to make this team better. A lot of the offensive growth, and look, the ball is moving really, really well, and that's something that I will concede Paolo Banchero is going to have to do a better job of, and making quick decisions. That's always been my criticism of Paolo, is that he slows things down a bit too much, over dribbles. He's got to speed up his process. But that is exactly what he's been doing this season. I want to run some numbers by you. I want to remind everybody what Paolo Banchero was doing in the 12 games he played before he strained his groin. And that does include the New York game. So some of these numbers might be a little bit skewed. I want to remind everyone what he was doing. He was averaging only 21.7 points per game. That's down, fewest since his rookie year. But he was averaging a career high 8.7 rebounds per game and 4.1 assists per game, very in line with his career averages. Banchero is struggling to shoot. And again, I will concede Banchero has to be a better three-point shooter. 11 of 44 from three, but his about a little bit more than three-point attempts per game, the lowest of his career. Because every aspect of his game has taken a leap. All of those efficiency nerds, all those guys who are saying, oh, Paolo Banchero's not efficient enough. He takes all these inefficient mid-range jumpers. Bunk. Paolo Banchero this season is shooting a career best 53% on 2-point field goals and a career high 57.3% true shooting percentage. Maybe not exactly where you want it yet, but a step in the right direction. Give the guy credit for taking some steps. In fact, Banchero is shooting nearly half of his shots, 49.4% of his shots within 10 feet of the basket, according to Basketball Reference. And he's getting to the line 9 times a game. Banchero has become a battering ram, going to the basket, getting to the hoop, and being this gravitational well that sucks in defenders with him. Now, the Magic clearly struggled to shoot a little bit to start the season. Not going to deny that. And Banchero certainly was not finding those passers or not finding those open shooters because there was a little bit of a lack of trust. Well, we're going to go into the Magic's total offensive numbers in our second segment. This is a very different team. And it very much could have come down to, this is the offensive leap the Magic were going to make, regardless of whether Paolo played or not, because they are figuring things out. They're learning how to play together. They're finding their way. They're finding their formula. And look, Paolo was on track to help all of this. Leading into that game against the New York Knicks where he got hurt, the Magic had a 115.1 offensive rating. That was a full point per 100 possession better than the team's overall average. He trailed only Jalen Suggs and Tristan da Silva, third on the team in the team's on-court net rating, or on-court offensive rating when he's on the floor. Now, obviously, that's not all about him. But since we like to talk about Franz Wagner and compare the on-off numbers between Paolo and Franz, and it's a constant argument to say, oh, the Magic are simply better with Franz Wagner on the floor. And look, they were, and their bench groups were a big part of that. And Franz is an excellent player. I'm not here to knock one guy to lift another one up. It's both and, not either or. But for the first time in his career, the Magic were better with Paolo on the floor. The Magic have a plus 7.5 net rating with Banchero on the floor and Wagner off the floor. That's a 120.1 offensive rating, 112.5 defensive rating. Now, again, there is context. There are important context clues that matter. Just like Franz played with these super-powered benches that the Magic had over the last few years, this year the bench has not been nearly as good. And Jamal Mosley spent a good chunk of those first few games trying to mix and match and find the right player combinations to make the most of his lineup. And some of those lineups were really rough. Right now, it feels like Paolo Banchero is going to spend a lot of his minutes with Desmond Bane, and Franz Wagner is going to spend a lot of his minutes with Jalen Suggs. And so especially early in the season when Jalen Suggs is still working his way back from an injury, is in and out of lineup, and Jalen Suggs has been a plus-minus darling this year, Franz Wagner probably took the heat and took the on-off numbers heat for playing with the Magic's least productive players, Tyus Jones, Jonathan Isaac, the offensive black holes. Things have changed. Obviously things have changed. The offense is functioning at a much higher level, and I do want to talk more specifically about the offense. But Paolo Banchero was a shining star offensively when the Magic's offense wasn't working in those first 12 games early in the season. And so I'm sitting here, and I did an episode on this way back when people were criticizing Paolo for not scoring enough. And I was just like, no, 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 no. He is making better decisions. He is doing the right thing more often now. He is playing more effectively and efficiently. The jumper's not there. He is attacking, attacking, attacking. And so what I'm excited to see is that Paolo can do all this, and now the Magic know what to do offensively. Now the Magic know where to float. They have their pet actions. They're running significantly more, which is a huge factor I want to talk about in a minute as well. The Magic are better offensively overall, and the things Paolo Banchero was doing early in the season are only going to enhance all of it, because now they'll be able to put at least one of their major downhill threats on the floor at all times. I, for one, am excited to see what this already great offense will do with Paolo Banchero on the floor. Because we do need to talk about how good the Magic's offense has been. We might have a change of identity happening, which is kind of creepy and scary, and I don't know what to do with my hands. Let's talk about how the Magic's offense has taken a major leap coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money, trades stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself? Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney, your money, your move. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Drip Drop. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, my energy, my mood, even my skin. That's why I've been using Drip Drop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. Drip Drop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands, using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and more than 90% of top college and pro teams. Drip Drop actually tastes amazing. They got a bunch of really great flavors, and it's your secret weapon for staying sharp and energized through long days. Hydration is non-negotiable, and Drip Drop helps you feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. So go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. And the Heat are coming to town, so it's going to hit hard. And keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day and part of your day every day. And we want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. There are concerns. Again, like I think the numbers, and again, it's been 2 weeks and we have no collective memory. So it's hard to remember how good Paolo was playing. And again, the numbers weren't popping quite yet. And there's some stinkers in there. And certainly like there's enough of an average that like a couple bad games early in the season during the 1-4 start, 12 games, the 1-4 start outside of the Detroit game and the Philly game, not a great start for him. A New York game, that's 6 games right there. That's half of the games that he's played. So the numbers I don't think don't quite reflect how good Paolo Banchero has been this season. But look, he's entering a team that's a little bit more in rhythm and a little bit more understanding. There's going to be an adjustment period. And I won't deny, like Paolo Banchero's biggest issue is that he holds the ball. And that a big piece of the puzzle for him is going to be making sure he keeps the ball moving. Paolo Banchero is third on the team with 3.75 seconds per touch, according to Second Spectrum. Only the team's 2-point guards, Jalen Suggs and Tyus Jones, players you expect to hold the ball a little bit longer, are ahead of him. And for reference, Franz Wagner averages 3.16 seconds per touch. Desmond Bane's between them. He's at like 3.2, 3.3, somewhere in that. So yes, I'm a big believer that one of Paolo's big flaws is that, yes, he is a bit of a ball stopper. He will get into ISO moves. He'll try and, do the Kobe or the Carmelo or whoever you want to call it, instead of moving quickly where he is so much more effective. And I think that's going to be a big thing moving forward, is getting Paolo to attack quickly and attack quicker. But this is a better and different offensive team than what the Magic saw before his injury. Entering that game against the Knicks, so November 11th, 2025, the day before the Magic played the Knicks, the Orlando Magic's offense was doing fine, but not anything spectacular. Orlando rated 19th in the league with a 114.1 offensive rating. Again, Magic were 115.1 with Paolo on the floor. Starting lineup's incredible. Paolo with Franz off is at 120-something. So definitely room to grow, definitely room to improve. But the Magic offense was nothing special. Since that game against the Knicks, so starting November 13th, 2025, the day after that game against the Knicks, so these last 6 games that the Magic have played, the Orlando Magic have the 6th best offense in the league, a 120.9 offensive rating. Again, this is crazy. We don't talk about the Magic as one of the elite offensive teams in the league. It's just not something they are. But here's the reality. Through entering games on Monday, the Orlando Magic have a 116.8 offensive rating. That is ranked 11th in the league. Unfurl the banners, mission accomplished. The Magic are outside the bottom 10 in the league in offensive rating. And boy, does this feel like it's going to last. Does this feel like this is going to last a little bit? The Magic are coming off back-to-back games, just 130 with their 2 best offensive games of the season. The Knicks and the Celtics were their 2 best offensive games of the season statistically. Again, I'm not going to argue. I don't think the Celtics game was a particularly good offensive game, but they scored the points. 133 points per 100 possessions in both of those games. This is a new deal for the Magic. This is something completely different. Orlando is scoring a ton of points. So how are they doing it? Well, A, they're shooting the ball a little bit better. Orlando is currently sitting at, let me see if I can find them here. Orlando's sitting 18th in effective field goal percentage. So 3-pointers are going down a little bit more, but not significantly more. Their true shooting percentage is 9th. They're getting to the line a lot, 59.4% true shooting percentage. They found the right pace. They're floating, they're hovering around the bottom 10 in the league in pace. But even with one of the slowest paces in the league, the Orlando Magic are dominating in transition. This is where the Magic are winning basketball games. And honestly, this is where they lost the game Sunday against Boston. Orlando currently is 3rd in the league with 19 fast break points per game. Since Paolo's injury, so again, since November 13th, 2025, the Orlando Magic are, if my stats will load here to just double check, are 1st in the league with 22.7 fast break points per game. They are getting out and running in a significant way. Even though they're playing a little slower in the half court and they're not like getting a ton of possessions. That's credit to their defense. Defense slows the game down, get more stops later in the shot clock. Good defensive teams typically don't play at breakneck speeds. But Orlando's getting a lot of fast break possessions. According to Synergy Sports, Orlando is currently 9th in the league with 22.4 transition possessions per game, but 3rd in the league with 1.25 points per possession. We talked about this a lot last year. So Magic are top 10 in the league in transition possessions, top 3 in the league in points per possession in transition, according to Synergy. Last year, the Magic were near the bottom of the league in both. When Jamal Mosley talked about pace and talked about picking the pace up, this is what he was talking about. Turning defense into offense, getting out in transition, being a much more effective in transition. And yes, the Magic are shooting better. Yes, the Magic are getting to the line a lot more. And that's going to be a big thing that Paolo produces is continuing to punish teams at the line. get to the foul line, high free throw rate. Magic have the highest free throw rate in the league. Lakers are second. So that game, be prepared for 3-hour Magic Lakers game. This is the biggest change to the offense, is the Magic are taking advantage of their defense a lot more. And again, there is certainly a mindset shift where the Magic are now focused more on getting stops. Again, that was what failed in Boston on Sunday, is they didn't get stops. They're still able to manufacture points. They're still able to get out and run, but getting stops is the key to powering this offense. This is the way the Magic want to play. Now, you might be sitting there thinking like, okay, let's bring this back to Paolo Banchero. You might be thinking, well, you said Paolo likes to play slow. He likes to hold on to the ball and not do very much. Well, that's true. But Paolo Banchero is actually one of the best transition players on this team. And again, I think there's some hesitance because Paolo's still a kid. He's 22, 23 years old. He still wants to define stardom as like, I'm going to break you down off the dribble in the half court, jab step you to death, all that stuff. And that's the stuff the Magic got to get out of his game. Like, you have it, do it occasionally, 1, 2, maybe 3 possessions per game, but everything else has to be quick and reactive. Use your power, use your speed, keep defenses off balance. Don't let them get set because you're going to be able to bully them around. And if there is any hesitancy on Paolo's part to this new up-tempo style that they're trying to play, the numbers should tell him, like, no, this is good for you. Banchero has been good as anybody in transition. He's second on the team with 4.2 transition possessions per game, and second on the team with 1.44 points per possession in transition. Franz Wagner leads the team in both. Franz about 1.52 points per possession in transition, and I think he gets like 4.5. Again, some of that is he's been playing by himself. He's got a lot more of those possessions, and Synergy won't break them down for me by date, so I can't kind of parse some things out. This has worked. And again, we're still very early in the season. Stats are not super sticky. There could be there's still lulls. There's still concerns about the team being able to shoot effectively enough. But this is a good offense. I'm ready to declare it. I'm ready to say it full-throatedly. The Magic have a good offense. Do they have a great offense? I don't know. Maybe it's great with Paolo and all the things that I'm hyping Paolo up about. But they have a good offense. They have an offense that is reliable. And right now, it's the defense that's been inconsistent. Right now, it's making sure that you get the kind of hard, physical, defensive game that this team is known for. And maybe that's kind of been the brick by brick they've had to build. It's like, okay, we got all these offensive toys. They're starting to play a lot better. We can lean on our offense a little bit. Our defense doesn't need to go as hard. We can, put it in selectively like they did against the Knicks and find that extra gear, that playoff gear when they need it. Getting this defense consistent back into the top 10 because they're currently rated 15th in defense already. Just had their worst defensive game of the season on Sunday. Getting it back in gear, that's going to be the key to moving and propelling this team forward. And again, Paolo's going to help. Another big body, another guy who's committed on defensive end. Magic playing good defense with him on the floor this year. Another attacker in transition. Another reason to be scared of this Magic team. You can tell I am really bullish on what we've seen. And if you can tell, I only think Paolo is going to make them that much better. It's going to be a fun game Tuesday night against Philadelphia. A good test to see if the Magic can bounce back and do all these things because it is NBA Cup crunch time. The last 3 days of NBA Cup action. So let's get the calculators out and do some NBA Cup math. We're going to do that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in. The app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets, easy, fast, and stress-free. I go to games a lot, obviously, and I get paid to go to games. I work at games, so I use Game Time to check out prices for concerts, for theater, for shows, for other sporting events like Orlando City. When I go to Tampa, I use it to go to the Rays. I'm actually kind of keeping an eye. I got my alerts set. I'm trying to see if I can still get a group to go see Hadestown with me over at the Dr. Phillips Center on Sunday. And Game Time is so good. It's not just about sports. I can get tickets to one of my favorite Broadway shows at the Dr. Phillips Center this weekend on the Game Time app. I used it to get tickets to go see one of my favorite bands over the summer, Rock On Modest Mouse. Game Time has it all. And if you're just saying like, well, I don't care about those things, I just want the sports. Well, if you're looking to go to Monday's big Peacock game against the Chicago Bulls, you can check out your seats with a digital view of the Kia Center and get really some great prices on NBA tickets, even finding them for less than $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. It is once again an NBA Cup day. We are very, very excited because we here at Locked On Magic are NBA Cup respecters. We respect the cup. The cup is everything until it's over, and then it gets back to the regular season. But the Orlando Magic find themselves right in the thick of the race for the NBA Cup, and there is a lot on the line. It's not just a game against the Sixers. It's a little revenge tour as the Magic go to Philadelphia and Detroit, the site of two of their most frustrating losses of this early season. It's not just a little bit of a revenge tour. It's an NBA Cup game, and a lot is still on the line. Now, the Sixers are not as hot as they were when we saw them a few weeks ago, about a month ago now. They're not anywhere near as hot. VJ Edgecombe is out for this game. Paul George is back. Jared McCain is back. Joel Embiid is questionable for the game. So we'll see if he ends up playing. And the Sixers, while not as hot, are still playing pretty well. Their offense rate's about the same as the Magic. Their defense is a little worse. But in terms of net rating over the last, and in terms of net rating over the last 10 games, the Sixers are sitting right in the middle of the league, minus 1.9, 113 offensive rating, 114.9 defensive rating. So they've cooled off considerably, and it does feel like this is an opportunity for the Magic to kind of flex their muscle a little bit. They're back at full strength. Wendell Carter is expected to play. Jalen Suggs is expected to play. Goga Bitadze is expected to play. If the Magic are the team we think they can be in the way that they've played over the last several weeks, because Philadelphia's 4-6 in their last 10, Orlando is sitting at 7-3, a 120 offensive rating, 113.3 defensive rating, 11th in the league in net rating. If the Magic are the team we think they can be, this is the kind of game where they kind of put the hammer down a little, or they assert their will over a team. This is the kind of road win that's real, that you expect the Magic to win and would be a really nice win. Now, let's get to Cup math. We're ready for NBA Cup math. You got your calculators out, I am sure. We're going to run through the numbers here. Currently, the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic are both 2-0 in Group B. Every other team in Group B, the Brooklyn Nets, Boston Celtics, and Philadelphia 76ers, all have 2 losses. So in terms of Group B, Tuesday's game does not matter. The Orlando Magic and Detroit Pistons will play for the right to advance in the NBA Cup, to win Group B on Friday night in Detroit. When the schedule came out, we said this game is going to be humongous. It turned out this game is going to be humongous. The winner wins Group B and guarantees that they advance. Orlando plays Philadelphia on Tuesday. Detroit will play at Boston on Wednesday. That game is on ESPN. So, again, we'll get the appetizer before the big turkey stuffing on Friday night at Little Caesars Arena. There's plenty of intrigue otherwise, though, because it's still possible for both the Magic and the Pistons to advance in the NBA Cup. So right now, the Orlando Magic are 2-0. They're the only second-place team in any group that doesn't have a loss. Their point differential is plus 20. The teams behind them, the two probably key teams behind them that have a real chance to pass them in terms of point differential, have a massive advantage over them. The Miami Heat are 2-1 with a plus 46 point differential. They blew out Chicago by like 30-something points. They blew out Charlotte by a lot as well. So Miami, despite losing to the Knicks, Miami essentially controls their own destiny. Now, here's the rub. Miami plays one more NBA Cup game against Milwaukee. That game, I believe, is Wednesday. That game is tomorrow. No, not tomorrow night because the Heat play tonight. That game is Wednesday night. Wednesday night, they play Milwaukee. If they beat Milwaukee, they're 3-1. They win the group. Because Milwaukee would be 2-0. They'd play New York. Wouldn't matter unless New York gets to 3-1. New York plays Charlotte and Milwaukee. So A little bit of intrigue in group C, but essentially Miami beating Milwaukee, that puts Miami in the lead. Probably drops Milwaukee, who's plus 16. They play at Miami, at New York. Probably drops Milwaukee out of the race. So the Miami-Milwaukee game on Wednesday will have a lot to do with whether the Magic can advance. Again, Miami loses, they're out. Like you're only advancing in the wild card if you have one loss. Cleveland is 2-1 with a plus 33. They're playing Toronto as I'm speaking right now. They lost to Toronto in their cup game in Cleveland. Looking over my shoulder, they're down 8 to Toronto about midway through the fourth quarter as I'm recording this. That's not relevant for this conversation. Cleveland is at Atlanta to close their cup action, their cup play. They are, again, Atlanta's been playing pretty well. So there is the chance that Cleveland's point differential drops. Essentially what I'm trying to say is if the Magic want to assure that they get out of the play-in round, if they get out of this play-in round, if they want to guarantee that they're playing in the knockout round, that means they need a double-digit win against the Sixers. I do think they will need to be above plus 30 to get out of the wild card because Cleveland's just sitting there. Cleveland's not passing. Toronto's already clinched their group. Cleveland is the running favorite. Now, Cleveland could lose to Atlanta, and Atlanta's 1-1 with a plus 8 point differential. They play they'll play Friday. They play at Washington either tomorrow or Wednesday. I don't know which day that is. A lot of this math will get a little clearer after tomorrow's game, and the Magic will have one game left, and we'll kind of know, okay, this is what needs to happen. To say the least, Orlando still controls their own destiny. Again, win Friday, none of this matters. Win Friday, you are advancing. Are you going to be the 2 seed? Probably not with Toronto. Toronto's plus 53. They play Indiana. Toronto's going to be the 1 seed in the East in the NBA Cup. Miami, if they beat Milwaukee, they will be above plus 50. There's a very good chance Miami is the 2 seed. So Orlando getting a home NBA Cup knockout game, looking very, very unlikely. Just very, very unlikely. The goal, I think, would be win the group, and we'll all head down to Miami for Tuesday. Fill the Kaseya Center as Cup respecters. We will drive. All of us will take the Bright Line down to Kaseya Center and make that place blue. Even though the court's yellow, we'll make it blue, and we'll go upset the Heat and punch that ticket to Vegas for the semifinals of the NBA Cup. If Orlando wants to assure that they advance, they've got to win Tuesday by at least 10 to 15 points. I would say 12 to 15 points. A blowout win would almost guarantee the Magic will get out of group play. Again, Cleveland plays at Atlanta. Not an easy place to play. Not an easy game to play. They're at plus 33. So even if they win, they need a big win in order to pass Orlando. That's essentially what the Magic need to do, is they need to kind of build some cushion between them and Cleveland, especially if we don't know what they're going to do against Detroit. So to get the wild card, I do believe Orlando needs to lose whichever game they're going to lose close. If they lose a game, got to lose it close. Point, 2 points, 3 points, maybe no more than 5 points. Whichever game they win, they got to win by probably 15 or more points. That's where we're sitting at. So if the Magic are Cup respecters, and we believe that they are, this game against Philadelphia is a big opportunity to try and push the pedal down a little bit. Now, you got to go out and win the game. Just bottom line, first priority, win the game. Because, again, you control your own destiny. You beat Detroit on Friday. None of this matters. You're advancing. Your seed is going to be probably the 3 seed. You'll play at Miami or at Miami, probably. At Miami, at Milwaukee. They're probably not at Milwaukee. You'll probably play home against Milwaukee. That's the only way. The only way the Magic get to host an NBA Cup quarterfinal game is if Milwaukee beats Miami. And again, that game will be Wednesday. So if Milwaukee beats Miami, the Magic have a very good chance of hosting an NBA Cup quarterfinal game. That's the only way. But the Magic need to take care of their business first. So if you beat Philadelphia by 15, 20 points, and again, that's not easy. That's not guaranteed. Win the game first. That is the first priority. If the Magic could somehow win that game running away, then they're in very, very good shape to advance as the wild card, assuming they lose close on Friday or win outright on Friday and maybe put yourself in position to get a home NBA Cup game. Put your calculators down, pencils down. We'll redo this math to preview that game on Friday, before Friday's game. And we're going to talk, of course, with Kuka Heel of Locked On Pistons to get ourselves ready for that monumental matchup a little bit later on this week because, again, it's a big matchup. We are cup respecters in this household on this podcast. And so we're going to talk NBA Cup. But that's good, dude, for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the places you download podcasts to your podcast enable listening device. You can find us on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. We just passed 4,900 subscribers. So tell your friends because we need that last 100 to get to 5,000. It would be an awesome, awesome Thanksgiving gift for me. And be a great Thanksgiving gift for you as this community continues to grow and get bigger as the Magic continue to push toward the playoffs. Tell your friends, get all your burner accounts, subscribe to Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub with exclusive insights and exclusive added content, including some video breakdowns. Subscribe today at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic first listen of the day, go make your second listen to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, all part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. That's good, dude, for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the Orlando Magic's game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Should be a good one. Again, that is an NBC broadcast, national broadcast. You can check out the 30-minute pregame show with our friends from WESH. Shout out to Darren and Kristen. And shout out to Darren and Kristen for the hard work they do on that show. Definitely check that out before the Magic's second NBC game. Very, very excited to redeem themselves a little bit after their first NBC game. But we'll recap that game on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.